I've crossed the display.
Chicago's greatest folk star may not be a person, but a place, the Old Town School of Folk Music. For without any doubt, since it opened in 1957, it has been the surest star in the Chicago folk sky, true north. The Old Town School of Folk Music is the largest independent community art school in the country, offering over 350 courses to more than 6,000 students every week. But there's more to the story than that. Like many of folk music's loveliest ideas, this one began in a warm home full of strumming guitars, good food, and kind people. Founder Win Strachey, a popular Chicago folk singer and television personality, liked to say it all began with a hunch. He'd been invited to the home of Dawn Greening, known fondly as Mama Dawn, and perhaps best described as the den mother to Chicago's fledgling folk scene. She wanted people to meet guitarist Frank Hamilton, who had some radical ideas for teaching folk music socially, in group gatherings rather than individual lessons. Folk, after all, was the most social of music forms. Why couldn't it be taught that way? Frank's idea was wonderfully simple. Using a system of tablature, a simple road map of the fretboard, he taught guitar by teaching songs. Win Strachey immediately imagined a school where amateurs and professionals, masters and beginners could sing together. But as Chicago's best-known folk celebrity, he understood something that perhaps no one else did. This would be as good for the professionals as it was for the amateurs. It would soften and humanize the whole idea of folk music as a business. One of the most artificial things in music, he said, is this arbitrary division between professionals and amateurs. A good professional, particularly in the field of folk music, must always remain a fine amateur, must really love what he does. Win Strachey's hunch was a success from the start. Mama Dawn, feeling that every gathering should include her home-baked snacks, had her own hunch, called the second half. After the lessons, everybody would gather for a big music party that almost immediately became Chicago's hottest hootenanny. Local clubs began sending their headliners down for the second half, and students got free clinics from the likes of Pete Seeger, Big Bill Brunzi, the Clancy Brothers, Doc Watson, and Odetta. Early student Roger McGuinn has said that the Byrds' folk rock sound was a direct result of finger-picking techniques I learned at the school. Frank left to join the Weavers in 1962, but under the care of Win, Mama Dawn, brilliant banjo teacher Fleming Brown, and a growing roster of staff and volunteers, the school grew, becoming a haven for the next generations of Chicago folk stars. Fred Holstein, Bonnie Kolak, Art Thiem, John Prine, Stephen Wade, and Steve Goodman were all students there. Folk's popularity plummeted in the 70s, and by 1978 the school was in danger of closing. So it played another hunch, hiring a bright young guitar teacher named Jim Hirsch as director. With a swirl of logic that only a folkie could understand, Jim looked at the sea of red ink and sagging enrollment and decided there was only one thing to do: expand. He sought to turn the school into a cultural mecca for all handmade, homemade, and self-made art, to become, as he put it, a full-service folk music institution. He increased the variety of classes to include everything from Irish fiddle to African drumming, sea shanty singing to doo-wop. The school reached out to Chicago's ethnic groups, hosting festivals in Latin, Eastern European, Indian, and gospel music. It opened its own store and coffee house and offered free performances and instruction to schools, hospitals, and senior centers. Today, the Old Town School of Folk Music, under the directorship of Baugh Graves, has 2 Chicago locations offering classes in everything from Appalachian banjo to hula, Lebanese oud to Latin percussion, breakdancing to Slavic folk singing. It produces over 200 public events a year, enjoyed by over 85,000 people, and hosts a beloved children's program called Wiggleworms. Not bad for what began as a dining room hunch. Devoted volunteer Evie Brightman, reflecting on the school's grand history, once said, "If we could only play back those walls." But of course we do. Every time we hear a John Prine song, a Steve Goodman guitar lick, a Byrds hit, or the inestimably important sound of a child shouting, "Look, Mom, I can play a song."
A river that waters the land. Applause.